Hello, and welcome to the Innovia Conversation. I'm Steve Waltz.
And I'm Jeff Progalski. And Steve, who do we have with us on the podcast today?
Well, it took over a year, but we have a special guest, one of our members of our team, Jeff. We have Mary Malone on the call today. Hi, Mary.
Hi, guys.
Welcome, Mary.
Thanks.
You guys are both ahead of me in terms of technical abilities because I'm on my phone, and that's why I'm not sharing my video right now. But yes, Mary. So our own M&M. We'll start by asking you, how long have you been at Innovia?
So I'm in my second year at Innovia. I started the end of 2019. And it's been a great ride so far.
Steve, we have it. And actually, Mary took over a lot of my responsibilities from an account management perspective. So it is a pleasant surprise that she is still with us. Steve, I was. she had a lot of rebuilding to do in terms of documentation and she's laughing because it's true. But yeah, so how did you find your way to Innovia? What did you do in your past lives?
So it was a lot of serendipity, actually, that I ended up at Innovia. So I've known Tom Doran for close to 30 years, and we've always been friends, and we've always followed along with each other's careers. And I had just gotten done with working at my second startup survey research company. And, I've been out in business for, 30, 40 years now. And Tom said, hey, I'm looking for somebody to come and help clients with their technology and a little bit about digital transformation. And he knew I really was into being a consultant and an advisor. And he said, I think you'd be a good fit for this particular role that we have. And I said, I'll give it a try. And then I came on, and Jeff, you're right. We did spend a couple of weeks driving around Wisconsin in the winter. And then unfortunately, COVID hit and I couldn't go around and visit with people that much anymore. So I did work on a lot of your unfinished paperwork, and I'm glad to say it's done now. So you're welcome.
Woohoo! Thank you. Really, I think our customers probably thank you more than I did. But all right, well, that is interesting. We're certainly glad to have you as a member of the team, even though Steve really was reluctant on adding you because of your Packer fan status. But
I'm outnumbered.
I'm a Packer fan, particularly by marriage. My husband was born in Wisconsin, and he's had season tickets since he was about 27. So we go up to a lot of games, and that partially fed into to the fit for the company. Had a lot of clients up in Wisconsin, and people knew that I would be happy to go up there all the time. So there you have it. And we're real live Bucks fans since a long time ago, and we love to go up to Brewers games as well. Though I'm a Mets fan, Steve. 1969.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Mary. If we wouldn't have won in 16, we'd have more of a heated conversation. But it's all good now. It's all good. Nice. And,
all right. Well, okay. So then, if I can, I've got some questions. So from your LinkedIn profile, in bold, it says, I'm a data geek and culture freak. Can you please elaborate on that? Because Steve was sort of like, he's afraid to kind of touch that, whereas I want to jump in. So explain to us what that means, data geek and culture freak.
So I think I guess it explains a little bit about me in that I have a BS, a bachelor's of science in biology, and a BA in anthropology. And so I was always somebody who was good at working with data, And I really enjoy working with data. My master's is in health systems management, and so I was really data focused. And when I was a senior exec at the companies I was at, we were really about managing by metrics. And then I was working with these survey companies besides, and so I really like data. I really get geeked out. As a matter of fact, I really love Power BI because I love visualization of data and how data can be made to tell a story, and how companies can get better using data. And so I'm really, really geeky about data and survey data and just how we can use data for performance improvement. But the other side of it is the culture freak, and that's from the anthropology background. And that's really understanding that, we all are part of an organization's culture. We create it ourselves every day, by what we do, by what we say. And you don't get very far trying to work with data, without understanding the culture and where an organization is at, in terms of the things that it values and what it expects of its employees, et cetera. So I really think that the reason I've had some success is because I've been able to marry the two of those things, being good with data and being good with understanding where people are at. So yeah, so those are my two, probably my two things I'm most proud of is I can work in both spheres pretty easily.
So how was Jeff's data entry?
Clearly, I was concentrating more on the culture side of things, and I thought culture meant like what we were listening to and reading, and it wasn't maybe quite as customer centric as Mary would have liked. But before we start picking on Jeff too much, I want you and Steve to have some sort of ultimate CRM battle and see who comes out on top, because you're both very big fans of CRM and have actually done great things in terms of our customers and prospects. So I'm interested in kind of hearing what your as you've engaged with the customers over the past year plus, what are you most excited about? What is not necessarily, I guess, just from a CRM perspective and their data, but just, what do you like about being an account manager at Innovia?
So I'll come back to the CRM question, because I do think Steve and I have had different experiences with CRM, and I think that'll lend itself to another piece of the conversation. But what I've really liked about the current role, I've always liked helping people. So I've always been someone who had a real focus on the customer, whether it was, leading a team of customer service people or developing standards around customer service or teaching and working with organizations to improve their customer service. So I sort of just have a customer service ethos. So it's been really fun, to be able to get to know my set of our customers and, helping them, think and strategize and grow and, being of service to them. I also like just, kind of that helper air traffic controller role that we play to make sure they get the right resources at the right time. So it's a really interesting job because on one day I might, in 1 hour, I might be talking with somebody in the CEO at a client and, they're thinking about their business strategy and maybe we're talking about doing some process improvement, value stream mapping work for them. And that's a great conversation. And then somebody turns around and they have a very specific question about some aspect of does BC do this for them? And then turn around and somebody might have a question about their invoice, and all of those are things that I might do on any given day. So I find that part, of my job, the variety, really, really interesting. I do. I think what I feel like it fits well with my personality and what I've done historically is I really like when I get involved with the sort of talking about big picture digital transformation of a company, not just how they're going to use BC or NAV or whatever, but that where do they want to be in the future, and what kind of data do they think will drive their business, and how do we make sure that we're, putting the information that they need in so that they can get better information out for better decision making, again, with the ultimate goal of helping them grow or being able to see new product opportunity, or being able to take, sort of more manual, less critical thinking tasks and take those away from people so they can unleash the power of individuals to contribute differently to an organization. I get a kick out of all that, and I've really enjoyed being part of that for the clients that let you do that. I mean, we have, clients that are on all stages of a spectrum, right? Some of them, they're very, very independent of us, and others are very closely, allow us to closely align with them in their strategy. So my preference just naturally is to work with the ones that let us in, but I'm happy to work with all of them wherever they're at on that spectrum. So
Cool.
yeah. So, and then I think the other thing that's awesome is just the teamwork that we have here at Innovia. That's been a wonderful, awesome surprise. And I mean, I've had the chance to work with both of you, Jeff in particular, a lot. But Steve and I have had the chance to collaborate. But, every day is a collaboration between our different teams. The customer, our team, I mean, we all have different strengths and weaknesses that we can bring to clients, and we collaborate a lot together on that. And then with our project teams and the delivery side, not a day goes by that we're not in conversation with them and helping each other out, and everybody doing, getting to do those things that they're good at, and bring that to solving client problems. So
All right. Okay. So that that is all stuff that I would agree with and things that I like about my job. So now let's get back to the CRM
Jeff's trying to
topic.
start something, Mary. It sounds like.
I am not. I have like two like CRM super fans. So like usually this this podcast is 70% CRM talk.
All right, Jeff. Okay. Nice.
So, well, I think, I've been in directing a sales team, and so I have and I directed a sales team before there really were CRMs out there. I mean, we basically had to do development of our own, before you had more of people had gone out and created them that you could get off the shelf. But from a sales perspective, I can't imagine running a sales team or being somebody engaged in an account management role or a sales role, or even in a customer service role, without having access to information about the client. But I think because I've also been in marketing and communication roles and leading that side of the business as well, the marrying of that data is where I think the absolute power is. And then you want to talk about the data geek in me. I can get all geeked out about this. The opportunities, and we're doing it here, but at other companies where you can take the CRM data and you can marry it to your BC, your ERP data, and then you can marry it to your marketing platform to see how a customer is engaging with you, to see how an account is engaging with you. Are they reading your newsletters? Are they opening a particular kind of email that you send to them? Can you target them once you've identified that they're interested in something during a CRM conversation? If you're integrated with your marketing platform, can you put them on a drip campaign to provide them, information that they want, sort of, they want it, but maybe it's just an over time, contributing to their interest in a topic, or maybe it's something they've said, hey, in 3 years we're going to want a new X payroll, we're going to want a new document management system. And so over the course of that time, you could be sending them targeted information so that in that year when they're ready to think about it, you've been educating them all along about something. I love the ability to target it. I love the ability as an account manager, if you will, to be able to go back and see what they're interested in. As a matter of fact, I get so geeked out about this that on July 17th, I'm doing a webinar with one of our colleagues, Keith, on this subject. We worked together and did some marketing like this, and we're going to be able to share what we've done before, as well as the opportunities we've had to put it into place at Innovia over the last year. So I don't know, Steve. I mean, I think we're on the same page. I mean, we both love CRMs. I know that. So I don't know what you would add to that in terms of where you see what we've done in the last year with Innovia's CRM.
And I think, I don't know where Jeff's trying to take us or take me on that trip, but it's, Mary, you look at all the different roles you've played and growth over the years, and you saw it from a salesperson's point of view. You see it as a sales manager's point of view. You see how to integrate with marketing. You see how to take this data. There's so many ways. It's a tool, and people from different parts of the company might use it differently, right? And I think, what I kind of talk about a little bit more is that, as a salesperson, right? How can this help me do my job, right? And kind of get into that culture discussion too, because coming from a large pharma company, there was it was used a lot for compliance versus coaching. So I think the conversations are the same, but it's really like the nice thing here at Innovia is that, we're very fortunate. You talked about, your background. I mean, and not to mention Mary has a law degree also. And, Jeff has like 20 certificates more than me, and Mary has about 5 more degrees than I do, but that's another guy. It's great to have all these brilliant people that have different skill sets come together and to help our customers, right? And it's a very unique thing. And some have a sales background, some don't. And it's really like, okay, how do you embrace this tool to do it? But the neat thing is that if we put an opportunity in, if I kind of follow our process and it doesn't work out, okay, go on the next one. Where some companies that I've worked with, okay, everything's got to be reviewed, and it's, they come after the salesperson, then they're less apt to put the stuff in. So I think, the conversations, Jeff, that I kind of do on, when I talk about it or talking with other companies is that, not Mary has, I think, more of a holistic approach of it. And we get to those conversations, but to me, it's like, how can you use this, define your goals of the system? First off, you need to have a plan, define your goals. And then how can you help sales people create a culture that they want to put it in? Because Mary always talk about there's 3 types of deals: the real deals in CRM, the fluff where people keep moving it out. Not that I would ever do that, right? And then the ones in the salespeople's minds, because as a salesperson, if I'm going to get this if bombarded with questions all the time on where's this at, maybe I just work that a little bit more on my Outlook or my cell phone until I get a little bit more warm and fuzzy, right? To want to put that in, because everybody loves those deals that get kind of put in towards the end and win them. Oh, that just came, kind of came out of nowhere, but you don't want a bunch of those, right? So I think it's the approach is very similar, and but I think I try to focus a little bit more when I'm talking with our customers or prospective customers a little bit more on that salesperson side of things.
Well, and I think the key to that is you really want to have the good data, and having the data, having the sales team, account managers, customer people put the data in is really important. So I mean, absolutely. It starts with that, because you can't do any of the cool marketing if they're not actively engaged with the system. So you can't, the data is only going to be as good. Your ability to impact your marketing is only going to be as good as the information that they put in the place. And you're right, it really is a cultural thing. I mean, there have to be expectations about using the system, and there have to be expectations about, are you a company that only puts them in at the last minute, or as soon as you have a whiff, do you want to put them in there? because of the ability to be linked to that marketing side of things. I mean, if you're put them in at the last minute, you're not helping yourself. And so to see it, I've always said, so I presented a lot of data to clients because I worked in survey companies, and they would get data that would tell them how their customer service was, and invariably some people would see that it wasn't where they wanted it to be, and they'd try and run off and beat people up with the data. And I always felt like, that may not be the best use. The data is a tool, right? And so is a hammer. You can build houses with a hammer, or you can beat people up with a hammer. And I'd rather use the data to build a house to make the company better. And I think that it's a lazy form of accountability to just beat people up about.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I think it's a bigger picture than that. And that's why I go back to being a data geek and culture freak, because I do think that even on something as simple as using a CRM, they're really closely related.
Mhm.
So,
Great.
but my way of using a CRM is better than Steve's, right? I think. Just if we're gonna
Actually,
have a CRM war, I'm gonna win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's funny when if you look at Mary's notes and compare them to Jeff's notes. Anyway, we won't go there. So, but yeah, you want to have it
I
set
just
up
needed.
what's that?
I was going to say, I just needed to use the bathroom, so I wanted you guys to talk about something for a few minutes. That was the reason for my my jabbing there, Steve.
Nice. And and the neat thing about it is that mindset. If you go on to a different role in the company, someone can take over your accounts and go there, and all that information's there. That's ideally it's a helpful thing, right? Because we used to have I don't know if Angie listens, but we've been trying to sell these filing cabinets here, right? And it's okay, I said, who's in the market for filing cabinets anymore? Everything's kind of like in, it's stored, right? It's stored. But that's yeah, great conversation. We won't try to, get too focused on the CRM piece of it. But I do have a question for you, Mary. So I remember talking to you. I honestly think you've been to more Bruce Springsteen concerts than I've been to Cub games. Is that true?
That might be. So yes, so I have been. So the reason I started to keep count of Bruce Springsteen concerts is because people would do introductions, and I do have more degrees than a thermometer, and I always felt like, I needed to balance that out with more of a fun fact about me. So my fun fact is that I've seen Bruce Springsteen in concert 97 times. And he's
Wow.
announced that he's going to tour in 2022. So just so you know, I might not be around that much. If I'm not around, check his concert schedule, and
There
he
you
will
go.
be traveling around with. But I grew up in his hometown in New Jersey. And
Okay.
so
All
he
right.
was a local hero, and very much somebody who, talked about a place where his songs are about places where I'm from and Freehold. And so it I'm an aficionado, by the way. I am not a stalker. I just
Not that I know where his bus is parked.
right. Yeah, no. So I still to this day find his shows wildly entertaining. And if I can be that, if I can get to 71 and still put on a 3.5 hour concert, I would consider that, an accomplishment. So,
Yeah, very
yep.
nice. So I know they have parrot heads and dead heads. Is there a name for folks that follow him like yourself?
Some people call them SpringNuts, but I, I've
And you,
always I've been quietly a fan that other than when I'm singing in this, at the show, I'm usually not in your face about it. So
interesting trivia question. SpringNuts was my Yahoo chat name back in 1995.
get out.
It really wasn't, but I like to say that as often as possible.
Nice. So, so Mary, you've been here a year
Uh-huh.
and being a data geek, and now kind of working in an ERP partner, right? I mean, and sometimes when I talk with folks, and one of the biggest adjustments I had to come to an understanding in a small channel is that, I want people to think big, right? You have access to all this functionality, all this data. You can use this data to help you sell more stuff, right? I mean, is it like when you're talking with some and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to come on your side of it and just coach you because of your background, right? Like there's so much opportunity. I mean, I guess I'm trying to gauge on is that when you speak with your clients or folks, I mean, how does it resonate? Are you able to get that story across, or really how does that going?
I think little by little, I mean, I'm going to be honest, not being able to meet in 3 dimensions with people,
Mhm.
Teams meetings are good. But when you're first meeting somebody, it takes a little while to develop a relationship and that trust. And I think it was a little bit slower than I would have wanted. But I'm finding more and more. I mean, I've been up in Wisconsin with see most of my clients over the last month or so, and more, we're finding that opportunity to talk a little bit more strategically about the next couple of years. And I think that's resonating with them. And it's, and what's really nice is that, our folks in our role are unbillable to them. And so it's kind of, how do you want, I'm available to you. I've done strategic planning. I've helped 2 companies, 2 startups really take off and grow. And I understand the pains of growth and the good things about growth. And if you want to take advantage of that, if a client wants to, I'm all for that. And I also understand people may not want to and may want to make it more about the tactical pieces of it. But when they do, I get very energized by that. And there's so much going on in the Microsoft ecosystem, just and so many abilities to think about how we can help companies, grow faster or produce more efficiently using those technology tools. It's a really cool time to be thinking, helping people think strategically about that.
Right. It's a good point. I was thinking early in my sales career when I was talking with this person that was closer to retirement than when I just started, and he kept saying, Steve, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I kept thinking, this this is probably 30 years ago. The status quo back then, maybe your survival time is longer, but in this tech world that we're in, if you have that mindset, I mean, you're just going to get ran over, right? I mean, it's just there's companies can start up so fast, and the thought that when I first started, I remember talking with Tom. He said, no, normal company that starts, can afford an ERP system is usually at least 10 million a year. Well, now that it's kind of gone to this cloud-based SaaS model, the entry point is a lot less. These companies can actually have now access to data that they couldn't afford years ago, and it's just cool to watch that develop. And so, is there a question I have is there anything that maybe like you had an aha moment when like you came over to the channel, like maybe something you didn't expect your job to be, or something that or got you on the opposite side, got you more excited?
So I think the aha moment for me is I'm always amazed by the range of competencies. In any company, people have strengths here and weaknesses here. And so
Mary, I'm on this web, like this podcast, so I feel personally attacked right now.
so
So can you
yeah,
please focus on the high range of people?
but no, well, but the ability to recognize that and to be able to try and get people in the right seats and make adjustments. You know, I mean, it was just an aha for me that every company has challenges. And, I spent a long time in healthcare and I saw those kinds of challenges. And with my startups, I saw those kinds of challenges. And I just find it interesting that in the variety of industries that I'm exposed to here, the similarities of challenges and the similarities of having strengths and weaknesses are there. In terms of my big aha lately is I'm really excited about, I was talking about the Microsoft ecosystem, and this is something Jeff probably sees as much as anybody, how much new stuff is coming out and everything. I'm really excited that Dynamics 365, the customer voice product is being enhanced, which is going to make it a lot easier for our clients to do surveys and to capture data, customer satisfaction surveys or product satisfaction surveys or interactions. If they have customer service folks, interactions with field service or customer service folks, to really be able to gauge how they're doing. And I'm excited for that next iteration and perhaps being able to marry some of my survey data experience and performance improvement experience and data geekiness into some ways, some offerings that will bring Innovia will bring to help our clients in the future. So that was my latest aha with all the stuff that Microsoft is doing.
And we're and we're speaking from our computers. And since I've been here, that's my phone number's in my computer. And but it'll ring to your cell phone, or if you can't actually have a good internet signal and be on your computer, you could actually do a webinar or a podcast from your phone, right, Jeff?
Relatable content, yes. That's why we have all these options available to us, and it is fun to help when our customers, can leverage all of these technologies, and I think that's the thing for me that is most exciting about the future is what is going to be possible, and even the applications that have been around for a few years but just haven't filtered down to maybe the small to medium-sized business market where we mostly exist, where our customers are mostly, and just taking advantage of really like the launch of our Power Platform team and how that's going to help our customers use really inexpensive applications. Most of our customers that are on Office 365 have access to a lot of those applications. The stuff about Microsoft Voice and all the new things that are coming out, making it easier to leverage Azure and Azure Analytics, whether that's in a CRM way or just in general for your data. All those things are, I think, really keep me excited about the channel and about how we can use Business Central as the starting point, but then combine all this other data into it. So even CRM data sometimes, Steve.
Nice. And we sell. So we were at this conference last week in Atlanta and had a lot of great presenters, and they're really talking about how engaging with clients and your current clients have just profoundly changed over the last just 5 years. And in that, you think of all the product offerings we have, the neat thing is by having a Mary as your account manager, customer engagement specialist, it's really that conversation to get to know you, because Mary just brought up the voice. Well, there's all these other things your ERP system can do. How do you start that conversation? And then not only who do you start that conversation, it went from, they said, I think it was 2005, it was like normally 3 to 4 decision makers. They're talking about enterprise type deals, and said it went from 2011, 2020 to where it went from 6.2 to 11.2 decision makers. So now you have all these different stakeholders. And most people that are in the field of either sales or customer account management, getting to know 11 people in an account can be a challenge, right? But you want to make sure you understand everybody. And I don't know if, Mary, if you've noticed that, it's like, and I think one of the greatest assets you have is that you've been in so many different roles, right? So you see what the C-suite looks, and then the end user, and maybe these folks over here. Everybody has different wants and needs, right? But getting that together, you talked about healthcare, and we both share that. I call them hospitals, and I talked about, you want to talk about silos, calling hospitals for 20 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah, here's pharmacy, here's nursing, here's the C-suite, here's nutrition, here's I remember introducing people that were directors that been there for 10, 15 years that never met the other director, you're like, wow, I just kind of brought them together. And, that's kind of what we do, but, it's creating that path that, sitting down, have that conversation with, with our clients and our customers to really better understand. And it's kind of neat. I mean, when we talked how Tom, you knew Tom before, and we always talk about the 6 degrees to Tom Doran, like 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, right? Everybody has kind of like of how we got here and stuff. But it's just having those, getting into those conversations and leading. I'm sure, it's like you have this bucket full of things that you want to talk about, but it's that setting that tone of engagement. Has there been anything to you that you kind of, when you first started taking over for, first off, did they know who Jeff was when you took over his account? Or?
Oh, most of them did. And they really liked him. And
oh, I'm sure.
Him, so.
If you don't like Jeff, you got a problem, let me tell you.
Exactly. So, well, I think actually even Jeff probably sees it as much as we do now, so you're looking to help them increase the functionality, let's say, and there's the everyday user of it, but then there's 3 or 4 people from a different department that either need that data or provide that data in some levels. And so there's so many adjacencies that people need to understand, outside of that silo of the one thing that they do. Where do they get their data from? Who's the next person who's going to use it? How do you ensure a true north for the company to be making decisions out of that data? I'm sure when Jeff is doing his, a lot of the demos that of the system that Jeff does, he's got multiple people with multiple needs in those meetings now. And, I think the hardest thing is to have people make enough time for it. Like, I think we have answers to questions that, whether you're a user or an owner, we can help you. But to get people to make enough time to see that is, I think, the hardest challenge. Everybody's so busy, and they don't want to, but you pay a price for not spending enough time in the beginning, I think. So but
you nailed it. I mean, time is one of the hardest resources to get, right? Everybody has their day jobs and a lot of things going on. And so I know, Jeff, we're kind of getting close on time. Any other questions you'd like to ask Mary, or that's relevant to?
Let's see. It seemed like I might. Was I a distracting force in this episode, Steve?
No, not you're trying to force a confrontation between Mary and I or anything, but it was
yeah.
It was one innocent question. See, okay, the last thing I want to bring up, because I don't know either, I wasn't paying attention, but did we bring up that Mary is actually a lawyer? Did we?
Yes, did.
See, that must have been when I was in the
she had a law. She has a law degree, so I think people.
I do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. So then we can't. Oh, so she's not a lawyer, so we cannot tell any lawyer jokes. Okay. Then I guess I'm
lawyer jokes that you want.
No, that's. I guess that's it. Then I'm okay with this episode.
Well, she's going to get calls now from clients saying, "Hey, you said you're free. I got some questions for you. They're going to be legal questions now."
Oh, that's right.
They're probably taking their chances on that one.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Steve, anything we've got coming up that we wanna share with our listeners before we wrap this episode?
Well, I know, Mary, you said you have a webinar upcoming. What date that is?
July 17th.
July 17th. And if you she just did a webinar. What was the webinar you just did recently?
Oh, I did one with one of my colleagues, Gary Harpenow, and we did strategies and tactics for ERP, BC Nav, implementation success. So we really looked at why project differences between successful projects in terms of engagement of the teams, and then a little bit about training and how doing both of those well make the project better and lead you to a faster return on investment.
And that's great. And you can actually go to the Innovia website and look on past events, and you can either search Mary's name or search topics, and that should come up and as a recording, and you can, for those that have missed it, you can get it. And if you're interested in attending her upcoming conference, you can go on our website and sign up right there. And even if you can't attend it, when her presentation is over with Keith, you'll get sent a link to the actual recording of the presentation. So that's great, Mary. I mean, we could talk for a long time. We'll have to have you back. We won't say that we had you on before Gary or Kevin, because I know they listen to the conference, right? I mean, they're one of our listeners, right, Jeff? So,
but I've told you I'm more interesting than they are. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we love you, Kevin.
Especially
Anyway.
Kevin. Yeah, especially.
Well, I think that's it. You can find Mary on LinkedIn, right, Mary? Is there any other social media that people could follow you on?
So, LinkedIn's probably the best place, but you can find me on Twitter as well.
Okay. Just you can reach out to Mary, and if you have any questions about, maybe you want to have a conversation with her, you can either mmalone@innovia.com, or you can always go to the website, and we'll make sure that we'll track her down for you. Right? Just call your account manager, and we'll be more than happy to. So, Mary, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. This was fun.